Welcome to another edition of the Defo Show with Lubie, right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Yes, we do our daily show. You can check it out Monday through Friday on the Ion channel, where we focus on everything in sports. Right here, we focus on your South Florida sports scene. Today, we talk with Dave Hyde, longtime South Florida sports columnist for the Sun Sentinel. He has been syndicated around the country and now author, as he's writing a book with the one and only Jimmy Johnson, Swagger. So we'll talk with Dave about the Brian Flores and Stephen Ross allegations, accusations, reports. We'll also talk to Dave about the Mike McDaniel hire and his staff, plus his book set to come out at the end of the year with the one and only Jimmy Johnson. Today, right now, on the Defo Show with Lubie on 5 Reasons Sports Network, featuring the one and only Dave Hyde.
You can Google the Defo Show, catch the entire archives of programs that we put together here on Ion Channel, which are starting to number into some substantial figures here. And this man has made many appearances with us here on the show. We're very happy about that, because one of the most authoritative voices in the sports journalism field. Of course, we've had the pleasure here in South Florida of enjoying his columns. And as we said, as they start to have like zero local staff on these 50,000 circulation dailies around the country, I would imagine his columns are appearing in virtually every newspaper that his publisher has a hand in. Dave Hyde joins us here from the South Florida Sun Sentinel. David, how are you, my friend?
I'm good. Can we call this like my 100th appearance or something momentous like that on your show, make it like a big deal, right?
The 150th time.
Yes. And you know what happens then, Lubie? You're going to have to dial up another one of those landlubbers gift certificates.
I have landlubbers gift certificates for you.
Yeah, because once you punch your lunch card here 100 times,
at least one,
you are entitled to a free sandwich at Landlubbers, which is great. Exactly. I mean, that's generous. I mean, that's within the budget here too of Ion Channel. So no need for a mentor there.
It's about what my appearance deserves too, right? I mean, that's
at least there's some good ribs there. $25 goes a long way at Landlubbers, Dave. I can assure you. I wouldn't invite any of your contemporaries. Don't invite Winderman. I guess you and Winderman are like the last guys holding the flag there, huh? South Florida Sun Sentinel. It's unfortunate, but because I still enjoy a good sports section, and there's nothing like it.
Yeah, it's changing times. I'm just trying not to be that dinosaur going down in the tar pit, And, I got my Smith Corona, and I'm pecking away at it.
Yeah, I mean, and people have gone on to all kinds of different things, but you continue to distinguish yourself as one of the leading columnists. Now, it's great. That clip was appropriate. Of course, Lubie, absolutely savors that clip that we had about the Dolphin organization, and we were asking you, somewhat facetiously, hey, you think it's finally turning around, and just when you think it might, I mean, they get hit with a haymaker, a giant one. Brian Flores gets fired. We've talked about that. He subsequently files his lawsuit, and while everybody was attracted to what is going to be the sizzle element of this thing, the implication that there's systemic racism in the NFL, I thought the real bombshell was the Stephen Ross allegation. Because it seemed like it would be a difficult thing why would you make that up unless you thought you could substantiate it? If you were any self-respecting attorney might be a stretcher. I don't know his lawyers and what their level of integrity is. But, did that not strike you as being the most disturbing thing in there? Because we know what's going on in the NFL. They've supposedly paid cosmetic attention to addressing this for years now with the Rooney Rule.
Yeah, the Ross allegation to me, certainly locally, was that was the bombshell, and I see Brian Flores trying to obviously change the way NFL does practice, and it might be a one of those lines in the a timeline moment for the NFL if because of what Brian Flores and others are trying to do to increase hiring. I'm not sure. That's a mindset change as much as anything else, and so maybe it helps out. But the $100,000 to tank allegation is, that's beyond football, beyond the Dolphins. That's into game fixing. It's into investigations, Justice Department, FBI, racketeering. Name whatever you want. If that can be proven, and that's really the question: who heard it? Was it just Flores and Ross? Was it Flores and his best friend who was at his side most of the time, and Ross, or is there some, for lack of a better word, independent source who heard it and will come forward? And that's really what, I don't have any legal background, but just from a common sense background, that's what it's going to come down to. Who overheard this and what did they overhear?
Well, this is the Defo Show here on the Iron Channel. Also, you can find us on 5 Reasons Sports Network and on the Believe Podcast Network, talking with the one and only Dave Hyde. Tremendous on Twitter. Follow him at Dave Hyde Sports. One, look, you've covered this team a long time. You've covered this market. So, as our friend Billy Corbin likes to say, because Miami, because Florida, there's always something. It seems like nationally and locally, the feeling is, and Devo sort of talked about this, that like nothing's going to happen. Like Ross has already sort of thrown it out there, or his people, that it was a joke. And supposedly, legally, you can sort of do that, and without actual money changing hands, there's really no evidence. You've covered this team. You've covered Ross a long time. Where are you leaning with this? Do you really give it weight? Because we've heard recently, and Rappaport reported, that the NFL is finally taking it seriously. And if so, they do find evidence Ross could be out. How serious are you taking it? Like, do you really think there is a chance Ross could really get slammed for this and possibly sell the team?
Yeah, I'd be surprised if there's two issues here. One is the legal, letter of the law, what can they prove in court, et cetera, et cetera. And I'd be surprised if it can be proven without, it comes down to, again, I don't know who their witness is, what is their corroborating evidence, as their lawyer said. What is that? So we'll have to wait to see. Now, the other issue, and this is a completely different issue, is the management and running of a football organization, running the Dolphins. Okay, everybody knew they were tanking or in some form that season. They traded their good players for draft picks. They lost they were bringing guys off the street to start before the opener. It was a joke. Everybody knows what they were doing, okay, except for one person, and that was Brian Flores. Why they didn't have him on board from the start, when they're interviewing coaches, when they're going through their perspective, here's our big picture game plan, and you're talking in the interviews, hey, we might lose every game. How would you feel about that? There's a million ways to tank without going up to the coach and $100,000.
Yeah.
The Dolphins are so poorly run, they can't even tank properly. Honestly. They can't lose properly.
We said that all year.
Yeah. They had this old geezer, Fitzpatrick, on the roster, and Flores was adamant about playing him over Lubie's future Hall of Famer, Josh Rosen, who the Dolphins had cleverly traded for, knowing that he couldn't play a lick. And, they did everything in their power to sabotage the team. And that's how an organization can go about tanking, and that's why we feel that the NFL should no longer reward futility and do something about actually making it punitive to be the worst team in the league and compromising your chances of getting the number one overall pick, always some kind of weighted lottery in the opposite direction, where the team that has the worst record has the least chance of grabbing the number one pick, and that would eliminate that. But that's a little too simple. Dave Hyde of the South Florida Sun-Sentinel with us here. This is such a wild story. I guess if you wanted to go through a football off season, this would be the town to be in, either here or D.C. or with now our former good buddy Rich Dalrymple out there in Dallas, which that's quite a wild story as well, in light of the fact that the kid started here very humbly and is now retiring. But couple of things. Can you imagine, with all of this talk about the lack of diversity among coaches in the NFL, if you are Brian Flores and you're a black head coach, you finally get a spot, one of like three that existed in the league with black head coaches. I can't imagine what it would be like to have the owner come to you and say, hey, I want you to lose every game now. Because we know how this goes. It's unmerciful, and the NFL is not for long. A coach can't afford to go 0-16.
Nope.
In his first year, and especially not a minority coach who had, schlepped around the NFL for 15 years to get his shot. That would be devastating to think that. And with the infusion of gambling into the game, where it's, an integral part now of just about everything the NFL is doing, including like Caesar's Palace ads. When would you ever think this? Holy Jimmy the Greek, Dave Hyde. Caesar's Palace ads in the middle of the Super Bowl game.
Yes.
With Goodell wearing a FanDuel logo on his jacket as he sat with a quarterback discussing.
He's in the sports book.
How could they, how could they possibly just sit back and ignore a possible, sports, attempted sports bribery charge that could exist and be validated? Maybe not. They prove, they can prove that, he actually paid money if he didn't, but it's attempted sports bribery at the very least. And if that's true, you can't have this in this league anymore.
Yeah, I mean that is the central issue here. Were they fixing their own games? I mean, wasn't a
imagine
if a gambler came to the coach and said, "Hey, I'll give you $100,000 to throw the game." I mean, there would be Senate investigations. Yeah. There would be.
Outrage.
It's Donaghy.
And this is worse. This is worse. If it's true and it can be proved, again, those are big hurdles, okay? But this is worse than a gambler coming to a coach and saying, here's the owner. I mean, that's now, the other thing is, and you mentioned it, that Brian Flores, minority candidate in here, and he can't afford to lose. I mean, not only can any coach not afford to lose, but a minority coach cannot afford to have, 2 bad seasons, or he's probably going out the door. He's going out quicker than white candidates. That's been proven. Okay. And I'm sure this is in his mind. And again, it gets back to what the heck were they thinking hiring Brian Flores, knowing he's going to go out and try to win every game, because that's who he is. That's what his career is. If you spend any time interviewing him, you would realize that, and you would think, okay, maybe not. He's not a good fit for what we're trying to do, which is lose every game. And so this gets back to Dolphins management and the hiring and the smarts inside, and nothing's changed.
Dave, talking of Dolphins management, and we've talked with you for a long time, and I've been very clear about my distaste for Chris Grier. However, they have made a new hire at head coach, and for the first time in a long time, Dolphins fans are weirdly excited. It's really hard to get Dolphins fans excited about anything the last decade, but the way Mike McDaniel talks and the youth aspect, and he is pretty much 180 degrees opposite of Brian Flores when it comes to charisma and just excitement. He feels young, and it feels more like a college hire, the way Mike McDaniel acts about this hire, and he's very direct. I'm not going to lie. I have sort of moved back a little bit. I don't know about Chris Grier, but I'm sort of, this guy is interesting. What is your take on Mike McDaniel? And he's made some really interesting, especially offensive hires. What is your take on the Mike McDaniel hire and some of the hires he's made?
Well, everybody starts with a blank slate, right? And so this fake euphoria, is kind of, I don't know. Look, Dolphin fans are grasping for anything right now, right? They're asking for hope in the middle of this, okay? And I hope he makes it, first of all, because it's better for me. I'd rather cover excellence rather than losing. But second of all, the idea, he has this quirky sense of humor, right? And his one-liners, and doesn't look like a football coach. He doesn't act like a football coach or sound like one. And I hope there's room for that in the game. I hope you don't have to be the dictator coach. And he is the opposite of Brian Flores, just as Flores was the opposite of Adam Gase. I mean, this is a game they play in the hiring. Okay, we had this tough guy, defensive coach who confronted players and was tough to get along with. Now we'll get this guy with quirky sense of humor and that everybody likes. Okay, so that's it's the game every team in every sport, and the Dolphins have played for the last 20 years pretty much. Can he make it? We'll sit here and I'm done prejudging coaches, right?
It's impossible.
Right? I mean, how many times have we done this? Oh, look at the hires he's made. He's great.
Yeah.
He's great. You could find some of the same stuff said about McDaniel as Cam Cameron or anybody like that, and that's not to say, look, he's going to get his chance to show who he is, and I'm not going to say it can't work, and I'm not going to say it can work. I'm going to sit back and put my feet up on the desk and say, let's see what happens.
Yeah, when you were talking about the idiosyncratic, quirky nature of this guy, I was thinking 2 words, Dave: Coco Cameron. Because he was all of the same things. I mean, that business when he was sitting in the stands with a blow-up doll and, saying, I just want my assistants to go out there and fall in their face so they see what it's like. And then I went out there and proceeded to win one game.
You're mixing scandals with blow-up dolls. That was Bullygate.
Well, at least it wasn't a cheerleader. I mean, as it was a case, I guess, with the voyeurism and the Jerry Jones thing that was going on. Did you know Rich Dalrymple, by the way? Were you around when he was an assistant SID at the University of Miami? A real good guy. I was amazed.
Great guy.
Are you ever shocked to see somebody involved in a scandal of any type, whether, he's denied the allegations, and apparently it was investigated, but they ended up settling this lawsuit, which, raises the question again of what actually happened. But did you know him, Rich Dalrymple, when he was here at UM? Would you come into town later than that?
And I don't know anything about this other than I'm sad something like this. He's at the end of his
very
career. Very
distinguished career.
Yeah, great career and good guy. If this happened, shame on him. But I don't know any of the details, I just don't like to see stuff like that happen from all sides for every reason.
Rich, he used to tell us when Jimmy was coaching the University of Miami, he liked to go down to the Bahamas, and Jimmy was sending it in pretty well. I mean, he was making pretty good money. And Rich's job, one of his responsibilities was he had to carry the cash back that Jimmy won. Jimmy would win like 40, 50 grand at a time.
Jesus.
When he was there. I would imagine he didn't win every time, but nonetheless, he's fairly lucky, the kind of guy that always comes out on top. And so Rich was telling me about how he'd be on like one of those rickety commercial airlines, like Bahamas Air or, whoever flew to the Bahamas. And he'd literally have like 2 bags on him with like 50 grand in them.
God. I don't think Jimmy was lucky. I think he was he had a
just shrewd
to win now. There are stories of Jimmy winning and winning a lot and playing blackjack.
Yes. Yeah, he played like 3 hands, substantial amounts of cash. It was pretty incredible. All right. Speaking of which, wow. Thank you for the reminder, Lubie. Is you're not the kind of guy that's going to come on here and force feed us whatever you're pushing. Right I
felt bad. I'm like, he hasn't even mentioned it yet. Oh shoot! Big news.
What about the book you did with Jimmy, Dave Hyde? Wow,
yeah.
And rave reviews for this thing so far.
I'm going down to talk to him today. We're still writing it. Okay. We're still.
Oh, okay. I thought you had it out already.
The book's called Swagger, which had perfect title for Jimmy Johnson and the life he's led, and. It's a lot of fun, a lot of stories that haven't been told that he's ready to unload and tell basically his memoirs of from UM to Dallas to now working at Fox, making the Hall of Fame, and living in the Keys, retiring better than any coach that I know for sure. And so it's a lot of fun to do, a lot of fun to get to know Jimmy better.
Now, when did you start on this project? Because obviously the thing already has a title, and I thought it was published. I saw an allusion to it on Facebook.
Yeah, they're talking about it like it's out. Well, it's like, geez, this is going to be spectacular.
I thought it was out already, but are you out fishing with Jimmy? Are you drinking Heinekens? How are you approaching this from a business standpoint?
I flew with him on his plane, a private plane to Tampa. He gave a motivational, and that was fascinating. And a lot of time in his home in the Keys, and just story after story. And he is the life he's led and the success he's had, and the teams he's coached are some of the iconic teams in sports. And so it's but yeah, it's supposedly coming out. This is interesting to me, the marketing end, the writing end. It's coming out. I'd say it's 75-80% written.
Oh, nice.
And it's coming out next football season, right now in November. So Yeah, I'm a little surprised, like you. The marketing and released everything now.
This book, I haven't written it.
I already was nominating it to be, one of the entries in the Library of Congress. I mean, or something. But
the 80% that's done is award winning. Now, can the last 20% hold up that end?
Well, you could have found a better character. I mean, you talk about
great.
somebody that just, as we were talking about. I mean, exudes a certain, just enjoyment of life, and I always love the total recall these guys have. We had a chance about, I guess it was 6 months ago, go down there and have an hour with Jimmy on the radio, and it was fantastic. I mean, just spellbinding stuff, and his total recall of all these different things is absolutely great. And I imagine he'd be even more candid in this book, which not like he was holding back, but gives him a little bit more license to go ahead and say some things that might not have been befitting that particular radio interview. And so I can't wait to see this. Dave Hyde, congratulations on that. And wow, I mean, we often talk about how great this business is. People can have their gripes about it, but to get a chance to do something like that has to be just
it's amazing.
phenomenal, even for you, who's, been at the highest level of sports journalism for a long, long time.
Yeah, when I think of the best people I've covered, I mean, most interesting, intelligent, successful, Jimmy and Pat Riley are at the top of the list. I mean, those are the two. And to get to, do a book with one of them is pretty neat. I'm having a lot of my personal questions answered. Okay, what happened here? What was what was this person like? What was your thoughts in that moment? A lot of things that, and then because he's a great storyteller, he extrapolates them into a lot bigger issues too.
He's pretty honest too.
Yeah.
How
large is the chapter on Jerry?
Exactly.
Have you written that yet? The chapter on Jerry?
That is written. It's about 15 pages long, I'd say. Interesting stuff.
And Dave Hyde, I mean, that's got to be pretty juicy, no?
Illusions?
Is that going to be the thing,
Defo,
the excerpt they take,
and
publicize the book?
Defo, I know you won't even shell out $1 for 6 months of the sunset.
This I might buy.
You're not going to shell out $28.95 or whatever it is for the.
Well, I'm waiting for it to come out in paperback, or I don't know. I hope someday there'll be some Cliff Notes to come out, because that's how I'm used to reading most of the literature that I've consumed in my lifetime. Dave, we love you, man. That's fantastic.
Congrats,
it sounds like a very exciting project. Private jet. Jimmy has his own plane, or was that like just a one-time thing?
He actually did have his own plane when he'd fly across country to Fox all the time. He thought he was going to quit Fox. He sold his plane. Now he rents planes. So
rents them. Okay.
We rented his old plane. So that's how it goes at that level of when you're flying high like that.
That's great. Now, how did you enjoy that? I don't know. I'm assuming maybe you've flown in private jets. But I had the occasion a few times through the courtesy and the good graces of the Duke, the husband and a great American who is married to Leslie Visser. But it's a lot more enjoyable, isn't it, than going through like TSA?
It's a different world, and I tell you what, we met. What was it? The Tamiami Airport, I believe. And
that's great. Yeah, you drive right up to the plane, right?
That's sick.
Yep, like about 7 a.m, and flew over to Tampa, gave his speech, probably got back into the plane, say 11:30 in the morning. He walks by the refrigerator, pulls out a couple Heineken lights, and here we go. Now that's the way to return from a good flight, right?
That's the way to do it, man. There's no hassle whatsoever, as they say. You're not waiting around for a couple of hours at baggage claim, watching everybody's bag go on the carousel there, and yours doesn't show up. Great stuff. Dave Hyde, thanks, man.
Thanks,
and
Dave.
We appreciate you always coming on the show. We'll see how this Dolphin story develops. It did seem like the bombshell was there, right in our laps there with Stephen Ross and the potential sports bribery allegations. And it'll be a lot of fun. It's always something, right? It's Gilda Radner time. Always something with this organization. They can't ever just go ahead and do things and come out clean. Thanks for being with us, Dave. Always a pleasure. And we'll look forward to all your work in South Florida Sunset.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dave. Appreciate it.
All right.
Thank you so much for listening to the Defo Show with Lubie right here on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Once again, if you want to catch up more of the things we're doing, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9, live, you can check us out in video. Look at that. In video. Just Google the Defo Show, DEFO. Also, streamer. It's stream if you're driving around. You can't really watch, but you do want to listen, quote-unquote, radio style. Defo and Lubie, LUBIE.com/live. Plus, we do exclusive content on the Believe Podcast Network after hours. Just go to Believe, BLEAV.com, search After Hours, and you get our content each and every day. Today, we're talking with Merle Code, once college athlete, then representative for Nike and Adidas, and one of the people that got popped in the FBI stuff. Merle now has a book out where he goes after the NCAA and all those corrupt in the world of college athletics. So definitely an interesting conversation. Check that out. Believe, BLEAV.com. Search After Hours. But you can check out our South Florida specific content each and every day right here. Again, thank you to Dave Hyde. This is the Defo Show with Lubie on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. These days, we're all looking for comfort anywhere we can find it. Thank goodness for Landlubbers Raw Bar and Grill in the Plantation location, because they are making sure you are as comfortable as possible. First of all, they're not only open for delivery and pickup. All you have to do is go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both pickup and free delivery. Their hours have changed a little bit. Monday through Thursday from 3:30 to 10, and Friday, Saturday, and Sunday from 11:30 to 10. You're going to have the best wings in the world. You're going to have a great burger. You're going to have their amazing soups. Again, Landlubbers, Raw Bar and Grill. It's nice and easy. Just go to landlubbersbarandgrill.com for both your pickup and free delivery. Thank goodness for Landlubbers for making you always feel right at home.
Play the ponies in style at Champions, the outstanding simulcasting room at beautiful Hialeah Park. Yes, the grand old lady of thoroughbred racing has never been more vibrant, and you can wager on the races from the top tracks around the country while enjoying a cocktail at the Brass Rail Bar or any of the fine food served throughout the facility. If poker is your game, you're covered in style, and you can play all your favorite Vegas-style games, including blackjack, craps, and roulette, in Hialeah Park's sizzling hot casino. Get a player's card when you walk through the door for all kinds of generous amenities, including our favorite, free play, when you come out to the ultimate casino and entertainment destination, Hialeah Park.